Dyeing your armor is usually as simple as picking up a flower. But in Skyblock, dye, wild strawberry dye, mocha dye, necron dye, dies, matcha, livid, aquamarine dye, matcha dye, livid dye, chocolate dye, tentacle dye, flamin' archfiend dye, mocha dye, frostbitten dye, nyanza dye, fossil dye, midnight dye, dyes, wild strawberry dye, copper dye, dung dye, dyes, livid dye, chocolate dye, dyes, mocha, livid, Byzantium, livid dye, pastel sky dye, dyes, chocolate dye, dyes, aquamarine, dung dye, tentacle dye, dung dye, dyes, holly dye, dyes, tentacle dye, dyes, tentacle dye, cyclamen, frostbitten, necron dye, dyes, celadon dye, necron dye, dyes, bone dye, sangria dye, dyes, fossil dye, holly, copper dyes, fossil dye, copper dye, flame dye, archfiend dye, bone dye, copper dye, dyes, brick red, matcha dye, carmine dye, pure black dye, dyes, celeste dye, flame dye, cyclamen dye, dyes, pelt dye, celeste dye, necron dye, livid dye, and pure white dye, dyes, pelt dye, necron dye, pelt dye, celadon, archfiend, pelt. Celadon dye, celeste dye, mocha, dark purple dye, necron necron dye, mocha dye, dark purple dye, chocolate dye, nyanza dye, dark auction dye, tentacle dye, brick red, tentacle, brick red, midnight dye, flame dye, dark auction dye, lava dyes, frostbitten dye, dark purple dye, aquamarine, frostbitten dye, flame dye, dyes, brick red, midnight tentacle, midnight dye, brick red dye, tentacle dye, frostbitten dye, tentacle dye, frostbitten dye, nyanza dye, fossil dye, frostbitten dye, carmine dye, carmine dye, dung dye, carmine dye, carmine dye, dyes, carmine, bone dye, mocha dye, carmine dye, strawberry dye, emerald dye, wild strawberry dye, livid dye, carmine dye, livid dye, dung dye, livid dye, nyanza dye, jade dye, archfiend dye, secret dye, iceberg dye, livid dye, dyes, necron dye, Chico dye, jade dye, necron dye, copper dye, wild strawberry dye, livid dye, copper dye, wild strawberry dye, emerald dye, fossil dye, jade dye, mocha dye, carmine dye, carmine, mocha, bone dye, cyclamen dye, carmine dye, bingo blue dye, dyes, nyanza dye, bingo dye, iceberg dye, carmine dye, iceberg dye, archfiend dye, iceberg dye, carmine dye, dyes, iceberg dye, celeste dye, necron dye, Chico dye, jade dye, necron, mocha dye, mango dye, dark purple dye, necron dye, mocha dye, mocha dye, Byzantium, jade, dark purple dye, Byzantium dye, brick red, dark purple dye, purple dye, dark purple dye, snowflake dyes, black ice dyes, black ice dye, snowflake dye, aquamarine, periwinkle, Chico dyes, Chico dye, Chico dye, aquamarine dye, dyes, aquamarine dye, aurora dye, holly dye, aquamarine dyes, tentacle dye, fossil dye, secret dye, tentacle dye, fossil dye, copper dye, fossil dye, tentacle dyes, brick red, pelt dye, periwinkle dye, brick red dye, bingo blue dye, brick red dye, blue dye, dyes, mango dye, aquamarine, celeste. Mango die, die, die. Mango die, 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 die. Flame die, mango holly, flame die, nade Chico die, flame die, dies, bone die, tentacle die, dies, die, Necron die, dies, mango die, bone die, dies, emerald die, dies, secret die, Necron die, livid die, Necron die, emerald die, dies, celeste die, cyclamen die, secret die, archfiend, frostbitten, Byzantium die, holy die, carmine die, archfiend, jade die, dies, die, Necron die, Byzantium die, Necron die, fossil die, Necron die, fossil die, holly die, bone die, dung die, livid die, mocha die, mango die, pure yellow die, pure blue die, dies, thanks for watching.